Welcome back. This is TarHeelIllustrated.com. We're back with another post-game Three Things. I'm THI staff writer Chelsea Sipple, and this is THI publisher Andrew Jones. We're at the Dean E. Smith Center following Carolina's win, UNC 71, UNC 75, Miami 71, and a big night for RJ Davis, 42 points. That's our first thing. Andrew, he had 21 points in the first half, 21 points in the second half, and this is a career for the Dean E. Smith Center. Most points scored in here.
Yeah, career high. The past high, I think, was Tyler Hansbrough with 40.
Yeah.
It's the first time a Tar Heel scored 40 in here since then. That was Tyler's freshman year against Georgia Tech. He had 40 that night. I don't think any other Tar Heels scored 40 in this building. Harrison Barnes had 40 against Clemson in the ACC tournament when he was a freshman in 2011. And then Shammond Williams had 42 at Georgia Tech in a double overtime win. I think Kenny Smith went for 40 or 41 at Clemson in 1987. We haven't gone through all the piles of notes that Steve Kirscher is going to send us, but off the top of my head, those are the 40-point games that I remember in my lifetime, either covering, watching North Carolina, being a college basketball fanatic since about 6 minutes after I was born. So this was a special performance, and it was needed. Carolina needed every point. And the interesting thing is, and I'm just going to rattle off some numbers that I recall now, just so I make sure I get them out of the way, Chelsea. He scored 56% of Carolina's points. And it's the most since George Glamick scored 59% of Carolina's points in 1941. Glamick's jersey is up there, number 20. Yeah, it's the second one. If you look up, we're both in the arena. So you look up over here, the retired jerseys. It's the front row, the second one from the left, George Glamick. His jersey is retired. Nobody wears number 20 here and he was the last guy to do that. I thought it was really interesting, and I tweeted it out because, I was probably annoying the crap out of you about how amazed I was that nobody else was in double figures. And I took a couple of pictures of the score they would put the players on the court, the players' points up there, and RJ's at 41, and no one else has more than 8 or 7 or 8, I guess it was. And in a weird kind of way, I was hoping no one else would get to 10, just so the box score would look like it was George Mikan in 1950 or something like that, or some of the guys from back in the day. There would be superstars like a Glamick that would score a ton of points. No one else would score, and that would be the game. So that's kind of what it was like, and man, they needed every one of them because the Tar Heels didn't play well tonight, and we'll get into that in the second thing that we talk about. But the last 9.5 minutes of the game, RJ was the only Tar Heel that scored from the field. And he had 4 threes in a span of about 3:16, I think it was. And one of them, Matthew Cleveland's a veteran player in this league. He's a good player. He's long, he's rangy, he's an athlete. And RJ broke his ankles essentially. And I can't remember if Cleveland went to the ground or not, but it looked like he did or was close to it. And it was like he turned him into a puddle. And when I asked RJ about that after the game, you could just see the smile. He remembered. He knows he broke his ankles. And that's just what it was. RJ's got an amazing step back, and he doesn't need much room to get a shot off. And he's got incredible confidence. And let's face it, we're watching a guy have one of the great senior seasons in Carolina basketball in a very, very long time. He's going to end up with 2,000 points. He's going to win ACC Player of the Year. I think that tonight was, if Hunter Salas closed any gap Saturday, I think RJ just peeled away tonight, like the Roadrunner, left him in the dust. He's going to win ACC Player of the Year. His jersey's going to go up there. His number won't be retired, but his jersey will go up there, and rightfully so. And I think that he has kind of, I wouldn't say legendary status, but for recent history, guys like Luke May are big-time names around here recently, and Luke's jersey's not up there. RJ's will be. I think that he's in that realm, and perhaps even higher, and he's right there with a guy like Joel Berry, and maybe even higher. I think he's a better player than Joel is, and I love Joel. Joel's a great guy. Love covering Joel. I think RJ's a better player. I think he could do more things, and what you saw tonight was a guy willing his team, single-handedly leading his team to win, and if they need this in the NCAA tournament, again, we're going to talk about some of this other stuff in a minute. It's going to be difficult for them to navigate after the first round if they need RJ to score 40, but he can. He hit 36 against Wake. They're a tournament team. I know Miami's struggling, but he still went for 42 in a game where every shot mattered. In the Wake game, they beat Wake by, 18 or something like that? He was hitting shots because he was hitting shots, right? Tonight, he had to hit those shots. They needed that little burn. He put them up 70-57, and I thought, okay, well, this game's over. And I start typing a bunch of stuff. I didn't really watch the back and forth for like 3 possessions for each team because I was trying to get a bunch of stuff organized to write 9,000 words about RJ. Next thing you know, it's a 7-point game. They hit a 2, and then they steal the inbound, hit a 3, and next thing you know, it's a 2-point game. So if it was Carolina needed every one of those 3, Chelsea. So when you need all 42 points from a guy, that's not a great sign, but the fact that you have a guy that can get you 42 when everybody on the floor knows he's going to take the shot and they tried 16 different people on him, basically, I'm surprised the student manager didn't go out and try to guard him. He's a great player, had a great game. It's a historical game. We're going to have a lot of content on RJ. We're going to have all of the historical anecdotes to this game and this performance by him, and there are many, and they will be on our site at some point tonight before I leave here, and not just on our boards. I think we might put RJ numbers alone on the front page on probably a free content item, so because people need to see it. He deserves to have as many people know what he did and the historical relevance of what he did. And oh, by the way, a very important game because this would have been a horrible loss. And this team says they're playing for a 1 seed. They're playing for an ACC regular season title. They're playing for a 1 seed. And this would have knocked them pretty far from the 1 seed line, given how Miami's played of late. So they got it. They got the win. RJ makes a little bit of history. His legend grows a little bit, and everybody's happy and moves forward.
Absolutely. Well, as much emphasis on this great game, historic game that RJ had, we still got to say the Tar Heels did not play their best game tonight. Really throughout the whole game. We saw later once he had that historic mark, it looked like they let their foot off the gas a bit. But really the whole game, they weren't fully there offensively. No. And especially in the beginning with Miami's 3-point shooting. You mentioned, AJ, Miami shot 8 for 12 of their first threes.
Yeah, they were 8 for 12 out of the gate. They were 10 for 19 at one point from 3. Mm-hmm. It wasn't that they were just hitting tough shots. Carolina left them open. Carolina didn't play well tonight.
Yeah.
And to connect RJ to the team not playing well, RJ had 21 in each half, as you noted a few minutes ago. I thought the guys found themselves watching him a lot.
Yeah.
He didn't just catch the ball and shoot. He didn't take 1 or 2 dribbles and create space for himself. There were times when Miami had multiple people with eyes on him and trying to disrupt him, and he was just getting shots off, but his teammates weren't helping that much. Mm-hmm. It was not a good shooting night from Cormac. He had gone 16 for 32 from 3 in the previous 4 games. I think he was 1 for 9 tonight. Yeah. In fact, it got to the point where he was driving some, shooting floaters. I think he took 4 floaters in the lane because he was trying to get some scratch, trying to get some points. He hit 1 3, a couple of shots in the lane, finished with 7 points, which I guess outside of RJ, that's a big scoring night on this roster tonight. Defensively, I could pick on a lot of stuff. Let me go back. Let me stay with offense. I asked Hubert after the game about the entry passes. Carolina had 12 turnovers. We're sticking with 9 on entry passes. Now, I'm going to go back and review the game and see how many it was, but it's 8 or 9. If it's not 9, then it's 8. That's way too many. And I asked Hubert about it after the game, and he was not happy. I mean, he was almost pissed off. And especially considering the fact that a lot of those entries were passes they know not to make. They know that you don't lead the big from beyond the free throw line on a lob like that, especially the way Miami plays. They rotate guys down low. They're not a big team, so they're used to putting a second defender down near the block to strip away the ball to affect an entry pass like that. And they had a lot of success with it. And I thought Miami denied more aggressively inside than they did in the game a few weeks ago in Coral Gables. And the Tar Heels, it's almost like they didn't see the denial. The denial defense by Miami was actually textbook if you go back and look at it. And Carolina never stopped. They didn't. Ball movement can beat a denial defense because you got to get guys moving. If you get the defense to move, the denials aren't there. But man, they're throwing entry passes in there when it's a camp out. Guys camp it out. He's got the denial going here. ball's not going to get in because you can't throw it through someone else's arm. So they had a lot of terrible, terrible turnovers. There was one where Elliott tried to throw a lob to Jalen Washington that just wasn't there. Don't know why he did it. Elliott had a couple other bad leads. So Hubert was not happy about that. Among the things that they're going to zero in on film Wednesday, that will be probably at the top of the list. Second will be how they defended the three. They did a great job running Virginia off the three-point line Saturday. They did a terrible job dealing with the three-point line in this game. And the numbers show it. So what Omier had a season-high 4. Someone else had a season-high 3s for Miami today. And they didn't have Wooga Poplar and Nigel Pack. Imagine if they had those guys. They're the 2 best three-point shooters. Imagine if they had them. So the Tar Heels were pretty fortunate that RJ had the night he had because there weren't a whole lot of things they did otherwise to win, other than I thought Jalen Withers in the last 8 seconds of the game was enormously huge. And I asked him if Armando was at the line, missed 2 free throws, and Jalen was right here getting ready to check into the game. And I asked Jalen, I said, were you going in for Armando? And he said yes, because he could switch better than Armando. He's quicker. He can use his length better because he is quicker, and he can handle switches that they were going to need to deal with on Miami's last possession, or what could have been Miami's last possession. And it turned out Armando committed a foul at midcourt. It was his 5th foul. He was out, but Jalen ends up getting an offensive rebound on the other end. I think it was an offensive rebound on the other end, and he drew a foul, hit both free throws, and secured the game. So I think the bench I don't think they play as much as they should. I think Hubert's gone way too far away from playing the bench. But when you have a guy like Jalen Withers, who has played a ton of minutes in the ACC, and you stick him in a situation like that, he's not fazed by it. He can handle it. And that's one of the things this team has that not a lot of teams have. So kudos to him for keeping his mind in the game and dealing with the situation when he went there and handling it as he did. And kudos to the Tar Heels for finding a way to get a win. They did so many things poorly tonight, and that I would love to be in that film Wednesday.
Yeah,
it's not going to be there won't be one clip of RJ, maybe the one where he broke Cleveland's ankles, but there won't, because that's not the winning formula moving forward.
Mm-mm.
So, man, they had a lot to work on. I asked 2 guys. I asked Harrison and Seth, I think, if it was tough getting up to this game, because Virginia takes a lot out of you. People think that, a guy can play 40 minutes against Virginia because they don't move up and down the court and have the slowest tempo in college basketball. They grind you. They put you through the meat grinder, man. And it is tough coming out of a game playing Virginia, regardless of what the outcome is. And to have to turn around and play a team that has a completely different approach to the game like Miami, I thought that was a challenge. I also thought it was a challenge coming off that win with how important it was, again, historically, to end that streak and for these guys to put another notch on their belt and as they march toward March, and also then have to turn around 48 hours later play this team. I thought it was good for them to have to do that. But when Miami having a 6-game losing streak coming in, I just don't think the Heels were as juiced up as maybe they should have been, and they got away with it. So, man, there was a lot of things they didn't do well. We're all going to talk about RJ. It's like the Duke Wake game. Everyone's talking about the court storming, and lost in that was how great the game was, and what a damn good win that was for Wake, and what a good job Steve Forbes has done getting that program back to where it was for so long. So in this game, everyone's going to talk about RJ, but to me, there are so many things that are concerning by this 40-minute performance outside of RJ and what Withers did at the end, that this club's got a lot of work to do, and they don't play for 5 days, which is good because they got to get back to it and fix stuff.
Absolutely. Now, AJ, our almost third thing every time is, what does this mean? And I want to say, looking at this game, I want to ask, what does this mean looking at the tournament? What would this game be in the tournament?
Well, I think that I was on a radio show in Virginia last week, and they asked me if the Virginia game, because Carolina was coming off the open date, if that would sort of be the beginning of their tournament run, meaning they would morph into what they're going to be in the tournament. Oftentimes you see teams going to the tournament, they're not playing well, and suddenly they catch fire. Oftentimes you see teams going into postseason, they're playing great, and it's one and done, you're gone. You have a game like Carolina had today, and you rely on a 6-foot guard to lead you to a win. It's really challenging to do in a situation like that. So my answer was, it just depends on how they played against UVA. I thought they did a lot to get that gritty mojo back that had been missing. Tonight, they returned to the pre-break form where they didn't really dot a lot of I's and cross a lot of T's. I don't think they were as fired up and dialed in out of the gate as they were in Charlottesville.
Yeah.
And I think they'll be far more dialed in when the Wolfpack come in here Saturday, because it's the Wolfpack. And that's also a dangerous team that could beat them. If Carolina plays Saturday the way they did tonight, State will beat them.
Yeah.
Notre Dame won't. State will beat them, and Duke will wipe the floor with them. Although you know that Carolina's going to be dialed in for those games, so it's not likely to happen, at least because they're not ready. So I think that there's a survive and advance thing you could get from this, but RJ just saved them. Other than the play I noted with Withers, nobody else really made winning plays. Harrison made some winning plays with some tips. He had a tip out to RJ that ended up with a 3. He had a play on the baseline over there in Miami where he was able to keep a ball alive, and Carolina got it when they were in danger of blowing this game. But they have to fix some stuff, Chelsea.
They do.
This is 8 games now since the win streak ended, and they haven't been a super good team enough of the time to build traction yet going into March. Their late game offense, Hubert's got to tweak some stuff because it's ugly. I don't know. First of all, they take the foot off the pedal too soon. They had a 12-point lead with 7 minutes left in Coral Gables when Miami had the ball, the chance to tie it. When Nigel Pack missed a 3 over Armando. They had a 13-point lead here with less than 5 minutes left, and Miami had a chance to take the lead. Had the ball and a chance to take the lead with, 20-something, 30-something seconds left. So this team hasn't been closing well. They go into whatever their delay is. I don't even understand what the delay is just yet. Way too soon. And what happens is you see them with a lot of dribbling and forced shots. Now, RJ hit a couple tonight, but RJ's not always going to hit those. He was 1 for 14 at UVA. And today he was what was he today? 15 for 22?
Yeah.
Is that what he was? Okay, so he's in between. You combine those two, and that's kind of probably what he is in an NCAA tournament game, because you rarely do guys have scorching hot games in the tournament. So they have a lot of improving to do. They have to fix some stuff that's kind of gone wrong here in the last few weeks that we know that they can do otherwise. We know they can play better late in games. They were closing people out, and it looked beautiful at times for a good stretch, especially during that 10-game win streak. They were consistent defensively, especially on the perimeter. They were consistent on the glass during that period. They were consistent getting some transition points and limiting transition points. They haven't been super consistent in those areas, so they need to shore up some of that stuff. They really do, and they need to concentrate on getting Armando the ball more when you've got front lines that can't deal with him. They didn't get him enough looks at Virginia, and he could have had a field day against UVA. I wouldn't say he could have had a field day today because the way Miami plays, they swipe a lot of the big, but Armando should have been more part of the offense. Carolina was settling for threes way too early. They kind of went away from Armando and ignored him. So they need to make him more a part of things, especially against teams that can't handle him. Saturday against State, that's a different animal. He told us a couple weeks ago down in Miami. One of us asked him if Norchad Omier is the strongest guy in the ACC, and he said no. Burns is at NC State. He's also the biggest dude. Yeah. So he's going to have to deal with that this weekend. But Chelsea, this is a really good team that has a chance to get to Phoenix. There's no doubt about it. But the team that I saw in Charlottesville with the grit and the defense and just making enough winning plays is more the team that can get to Phoenix than the one I saw tonight. Take away RJ's 42 points. This was not a good team. And hell, Cormac saved their butts the other day, and I thought they were better the other day. So they need to play well. Some people have the belief that just win, man. This time of year, just win. I still think this team needs to play well. They need to play well like they did against Wake earlier in the year, like they did against Syracuse. They need a game like that where they click and check a ton of boxes. That, I think, will help get them into the right mode for March, and their next game is in March. That February is over for them. So I think this team has a lot of improvement to do still, and some of it are things that they once did better than they've done of late. So is that a good sign? I don't know. It's a good sign, I guess, knowing that they can do those things. It's not a good sign if you're someone who believes that perhaps they've peaked, and perhaps they have. We'll find out.
Well, like you said, we'll find out. Let's see if we see those changes by this Saturday against NC State, which we'll be back for another 3 things. And to the viewers, we have all this content on RJ Davis. Despite this not super great win, he did have a historic 42 points. So all that content will be on TarHeroIllustrated.com and on the YouTube. So make sure to subscribe to that. But thank you.